Welcome back to the Retire As You Desire TV show. So glad to have you with us here today. And on today's episode, I want to discuss with you, can an early retirement actually ruin your health? Can an early retirement be derailed by some of your habits? Are some of the things that you're doing every single day, probably unconsciously, stopping you from being able to retire as you desire early? So you're going to want to stay with us for the whole entire show today, because we're going to have some great information regarding numbers and some of the habits that people do. I want to show you how much money this could actually mean for your future. So let's get into this today. What does early retirement mean? This is going to be completely different for everyone. But what stops a lot of people from retiring early is how much they save early in their working years, but also what do their habits actually do? How does it stop them? And let's really weigh in on the most common areas and issues in retirement. So early retirement could have great effects and some negative effects on your health. And it really depends on various factors. Like your lifestyle. How are you eating? Are you drinking? Are you smoking? Are you exercising? All of these things are going to play a big factor throughout your whole entire life. And here's some key points to consider. There's some great effects from an early retirement standpoint. This is an important one: reduced stress. When you leave a high stress environment, a high stress job, which I'm sure that's like a lot of people these days, it leads to lower levels of anxiety and it reduces your stress. This could actually improve your overall health. And I want to share a story with you, a real life story from one of our clients. So he was recovering from cancer. He had prostate cancer. He was having high blood pressure, a ton of stress, and high cholesterol. You name it, he had it. He was on a ton of medications. But the thing is, and this is the remarkable part, when we got him to retire, we put his retirement income plan in place. Within the first year of him retiring, he was able to get off of all of his medications for the high blood pressure, cholesterol. He's still doing some things for his cancer treatments, but his stress levels came down so much that it had a huge effect on his overall health and his life. He believes that the stress of waking up every single day at 4 a.m. to catch a 5:30 train, to get to downtown Chicago, to go to a very high stress job, it really had an effect on his cancer. He thinks, and I'm not a doctor, right? But he says that all the stress led to him getting sick. And we'll never know the truth about that because, again, we don't know if that's what causes it all the time. But his health improved so much when he stepped away from that stressful environment that he was able to get off of his medication. So stress, retiring early, these things have a huge common factor together. So you want to be aware. Is your job too stressful? Is it taking away from your health? Is it taking away from your longevity? You may want to retire early. Also, this gave him more time for healthy activities. He goes to his daughter's house twice a week, does all the house stuff, he mows the lawn, but it gives him physical exercise, and he has new hobbies, like really doing a ton of work on fixing old pinball machines. Sounds crazy, but that's what he loves to do. He loves to fix these machines. And it also gives him a new type of income. So his brain's working in new ways, his health is much better, and it's a huge opportunity for him to stay active in retirement. And speaking of being active, we have another client. She's in her 70s, and she started a women's only fitness studio. Now think about it. You're in your 70s. Most people probably want to hang it up. They don't want to start a new company, start a new career, but this was always her passion project. So in her 70s, she started her own women's fitness studio. How incredible. She had the strength, she had the confidence to go out and try and change other people's lives because she did it herself. So when you step away from the corporate job, This gave her the ability to have more time, actually retire with confidence, but also to give value for other people. When she's giving value to her clients, she's helping them live longer. She's helping them have a much healthier lifestyle. So when you retire earlier, it gives you a huge opportunity to get your time back, but also really give you much more confidence in life. And another aspect of retiring early is improved sleep. I was just talking with our producers here at the show. The sleep studies, the sleep experiences, it has a huge effect on your life. I tracked all my sleeping every single night with my Oura Ring. I like to see how well my sleep is, and I feel it in the morning. I'm pretty aware of this now. There was a great sleep study of about 172,000 adults, and it found that men who get the right amount of sleep every night, they live about 5 years longer than men who don't. So just by sleeping well, you could have 5 years or more of longevity. And for women, for the same study, it showed that they live about 2 years longer. So just by taking care of yourself and sleeping well, you could have more years of life, more years of fun, and who doesn't want that? Another study found that when men and women who reported having all 5 quality sleep measures, it's like falling asleep easily, staying asleep, getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep, waking up on their own accord, and foregoing sleep during the day, it had a huge effect on their life expectancy. It showed that you could have 4.7 years greater for men and 2.4 years greater for women, just if you're taking care of your sleep habits and not taking medications to fall asleep. For those who are not having these effects, it could have an impact on your longevity. This is something simple that you could take care of when you retire early. Now, for the rest of this segment, there are some negative effects of retiring early. For one of the first episodes of the TV show, you can go back and watch this on our YouTube. But we talked about the effects of retiring early and some of the issues that people have. There's many of them, but let's focus on a few today. Some people have what's called a loss of structure and a loss of purpose. For some people, work provides that sense of purpose and structure, but also that sense of meaning and really importance in life. The loss of work could lead to people feeling depressed, aimlessness. They don't have that routine every single day that they're used to doing for probably 30, 40 years. It also gives some people social isolation. This is a hard one, especially if you don't have family around or friends around. Leaving the workplace can result in reduced social interactions, which could really negatively impact your health and or your mental health. So you want to have a great group of people around you when you go to retire. Another aspect of retiring early is financial stress. This is something we want to avoid. If early retirement is not well planned out, especially financially, it could lead to stress, anxiety about money, and potentially affecting your mental and physical health. Another story of someone who I met with who did not become a client, it really came down to them spending too much money in retirement way too early. Their advisor did not put together a retirement income plan. They did not specialize in this, and that's what we do at Bloom Financial. We help people specialize in retirement income planning and figuring out ways to have your money potentially last your whole entire lifetime. But for this gentleman, he was spending triple the amount of returns he was receiving from his portfolio. His advisor had him at about a 5% rate of return. He was spending about a 15% withdrawal rate from his portfolio. Doing simple math, it didn't match up. So he was spending way too much money early in retirement, and this could be a huge risk. And what this gentleman did, he bought a really expensive car. It was about $100,000. It was his dream car, but it really caused a big stress, not only financially, but mentally, because he had to go back to work because he spent too much money in the beginning. This is something that we help people plan out for their lifetime. We want to avoid these issues. Then also, lifestyle changes. Some retirees, they adopt a more sedentary lifestyle after leaving work. They don't have to go out of the house every day, go to work. Even during COVID, things changed, so they kind of fell into this not having to go to the office. But this has led to obesity, heart disease, decreased muscle mass, because you're not moving as much. One of the things that I love to see from a retiree standpoint is get an Apple Watch, get a Fitbit, get an Oura Ring. There's a bunch of different wearables that you could have. Obviously, I love the Oura Ring because it's only $6 a month. This is not an ad for them, but it helps me track my movements. I'm super active all day, but it also shows me when I'm sick. It shows if I have a temperature and if I'm not sleeping well. So it helps you plan out your day to maybe slow down or speed up. And speaking of slowing down and speeding up, in the next segment, we're gonna talk all about what does it actually mean to spend your money too early? What are some of your habits that you're doing daily or monthly that's causing you to not be able to retire early? Stick with us. The Retire As You Desire show is here to help you plan out the most amazing retirement for your future. Thank you for being here. And you really want to find a purpose going into retirement. You want to engage in meaningful activities, volunteer work, hobbies, part-time employment, like our client who started working on the pinball machines and refixing them. It's a great way for you to A, make money, B, help other people, but also stay active. You need to keep your mind sharp. I also think people should have plans to travel in retirement. And this is going to give you engagement too. It could help mitigate risks of, staying dormant and really having a decline in retirement. Welcome back to segment 2 of the Retire As You Desire show. I found that when people retire early, their lifestyle is going to depend on a couple different factors. Over the past decade and a half, I've seen so many people go through so many different scenarios, and there's a lot of common factors when you retire early, and that's what we're talking about in today's show. Your well-being is really going to come down to a couple factors. How your health is, how your relationships are, how your money is, are you feeling stressed about the markets, and how stressed are you in an everyday life setting. So when you volunteer, this, I think, amongst a lot of other things, is one of the most important things to do if you want to retire early. This leads to health benefits, being really engaged in other people's, their goals and fulfilling their dreams and their activities. When other people need help and when you go out of your way to help them, this is a game changer. There are studies that show this can help lead to longevity and living longer and living healthier. And who doesn't want that? And when you really think about what your life is going to look like when you retire early, you step away from the office, you take yourself out of the stressful work environment, what does life look like for you? If you want to volunteer, you have a huge opportunity to having a real engaging life, but also a ton of activities in your post-retirement life. So here's some recommendations to help you plan ahead. You want to think about your lifestyle. Your lifestyle is the most important thing. You want to mitigate potential negative effects from spending too much early in retirement. In the last segment, we talked about the gentleman who spent way too much, way too early. He had to go back to work. If you don't want to work, plan out your income before you retire. And you really want to find a purpose going into retirement. You want to engage in meaningful activities, volunteer work, hobbies, part-time employment, like our client who started working on the pinball machines and refixing them. It's a great way for you to A, make money, B, help other people, but also stay active. You need to keep your mind sharp. Ultimately, this is going to have a huge impact on the early years of your retirement. And if you start these habits earlier, it's going to really have a huge effect as you age. Keep that brain sharp, and there could be some huge benefits from a health standpoint. But there's also, again, there's positives and negatives. The negative correlations to retiring early are when you're not moving, when you're not getting up, you're not exercising. These are huge warning signs to maybe stay working. If you're not able to get to the gym, you don't have that energy, you may want to stay in the workforce because that helps you get out of the house, keeps you around people. And if it really gives you a purpose and passion, you may want to stay working. But when you retire early, the world is your oyster. At the first part, every day becomes a Saturday, as we like to say. But I will advise you to know your health. Before you retire, go see your doctor. Do your physical, do your checkup, do all your screens, whether you're a male or female. There's very specific ones that you want to do. We have had clients go through cancer scares or strokes. You want to know these things before you go into retirement. And if you could have these things figured out and you have a clean bill of health or as best as possible, these are things that you could actually work on when you retire. Because if, let's say, you may need to lose some weight or you want to lower your cholesterol or your blood pressure, this is a way for you to plan out your daily routines and your daily activities. Go to the gym, find a great doctor, help your body get into the best place possible before you retire. And this could help you avoid some chronic conditions as well. But there's also a monetary effect on all of this. When you get medical bills in retirement, they're pretty high, especially if you retire earlier. One of the things, especially in the state of Illinois, when you go to retire, let's say when you're 55, this is very early compared to normal 65-year-old retirement. The thing is, you're gonna probably be out of pocket for your health insurance. And the way that things are calculated in 2024, it comes down to your income. So if you're withdrawing a lot of money from pre-tax dollars, this is gonna have an offset on your retirement income. Also, it's gonna have an offset on your insurance premiums. So if you're not healthy, if you have medical issues, you may need to get into a gold plan or a platinum plan. And the thing is, this could cost you up to $3,000 a month or more in retirement, and I've seen this. So if you want to retire early, getting your health in order is such an important thing to do before you make that decision. And another aspect to this, you need to be able to afford the health insurance premiums. If your employer is not going to help you pay for this on a monthly basis, if you need to spend an extra $1,000, $2,000, or $3,000 a month, depending on your situation, how can you afford that? How much money do you need to withdraw from your portfolio in order for you to be able to retire earlier? These are things that we help our clients plan out and understand before you make these big, important decisions. And one of the things that we help our clients with is we talk about your lifestyle. Having unhealthy habits is one of the most detrimental parts of retirement, especially pre-retirement. It's gonna hurt financially, and we're gonna get into this in later segments. We're gonna actually go into details and numbers and examples as to what are some things that people do that causes them to lose potentially hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars if that money would have been invested. So we're gonna get into some examples of that. Some retirees, they develop unhealthy habits when they retire. So some of this goes into poor eating patterns. I've seen people retire, they want to eat out every single meal. They don't want to cook anymore. They feel like they're on vacation. We've seen some people over the years actually increase their alcohol consumption because they're in party mode, especially that first year in retirement. This is something to be aware of because this could affect your relationships and also your health. But having your routine, I really believe this. I feel like this in my daily life too. When you don't have a routine, when you're all over the place, it's gonna lead to a lack of structure. Your money needs structure. Your money needs a plan. And when you're out and about, spending wildly or not paying attention to your money, it really has a negative effect on your future retirement dollars, and you're taking money away from your future self. But when it comes down to retirement planning, I want to give you some advice as far as confidence goes. And here's some tips to give you confidence for your whole entire retirement. If you have 3 things to do a month, whether it's going to the gym, whether it's seeing people every day, getting coffee with them, having structure is going to be a huge opportunity for you to have a much better retirement. So having at least 3 things to do every single month is a game changer because it gives your mind and your body something to shoot for. I also think people should have plans to travel in retirement. What we do for a lot of our clients is we set up travel funds, and we know every year we're going to have $5,000, $10,000 or more, depending on their scenario, to help them travel, see the world, keep them active, and keeping their mind and bodies sharp. It's a big part of retirement. And this is going to give you engagement too. It could help mitigate risks of, staying dormant and really having a decline in retirement. That's why traveling is so important. And it's really the number one thing that retirees want to do. And tip number 3, having a sense of community. But we need to go much deeper than this. What are the things that get you out of bed in the morning that you love doing? Surround yourself with people who give you that sense of feel and community. That could help impact both your mental and physical health. It could potentially help you live longer, which who doesn't want to live longer, and be healthier. If you have the opportunity to not only make money from a community standpoint, it's a huge game changer when you go into your retirement years, especially when you retire early. And it's going to help you reduce your loneliness. We don't want to be lonely in retirement. Having this sense of community is going to combat all of these things. So if it also pays you money, what a blessing. You get to make money, be around people that you love. What's wrong with that? Probably nothing. Those are the things that you really want to do in retirement. And the one thing that I've seen become a very big part of clients' lives in retirement is having an emotional community support center. Therapists, even talking about old trauma that they have in their life. It clears up that past, because when you have time, you start thinking a lot. And when that brain gets working, we all know this, we've all been there, may not be positive. Don't be afraid to work through those issues that you've had in your life, in your past, in your traumas. There's ways to really work through them, especially when you have more time. So don't be afraid to take care of your mental health, and that, when you free yourself up, can improve all of your relationships around you and have a healthier life. So I hope all this information is helping you with the Retire As You Desire show. Stay tuned. We're going to get into some real live money advice for retiring early. And I'm going to show you what some of your daily activities are causing you to lose out on for your future self. Stay tuned to the Retire As You Desire show. The lifetime expenditure of this daily habit. You could do this with anything that you do. But for this example, 2 drinks a day, that's $10 a day. You think $10 a day, not a big deal. But when you look at that, times that by 365 days a year, and if you would have invested that to get on average a 7% return over that 49 years, you're gonna have approximately $1.5 million. Welcome back to the Retire As You Desire show. This segment is all about your daily habits, or even your weekly or monthly habits. I'm going to show you what it's costing you, why you may want to reconsider doing some of these things, and how it has an effect on you being able to retire early. And who doesn't want to retire as you desire early as possible? That's what we do at Bloom Financial, help people figure these things out. So this one really hits home with me because when we grew up, my brother and I, drinking was a really bad part of our household from, our father. It was really a tough time when we were kids. This led to, unemployment. We didn't know if there was actually going to be a roof over our head. There was really tough times due to drinking, and I'm super aware of this as an adult, which is why, choices are so important. And it really affects the quality of your life, your money, your relationships, your family. And there's a lot of resentment that stays, with these different daily activities if you're not aware of it. So we're going to go really personal and really deep into this segment today because your lifespan. I love talking about lifespan. If you haven't noticed over the weeks watching this show, it's one of my favorite things to learn about, read about, study, and implement in our life. But I think we all know this. Excessive alcohol consumption, probably not very good for your health. We hear that red wine is good for your health, but that's because there's resveratrol in there. But you need to have like 700 glasses of wine to get enough positive impacts. Again, I'm not a doctor. You could look these things up. But red wine is not necessarily great for you. Beer, wine, like hard alcohol, it has a huge effect on your health and your sleep. Your sleep is so important. So this could lead to obviously liver damage, terrible sleep, cirrhosis if you are really heavy into drinking. But these could be life-threatening experiences that if you're not aware of this going into retirement, it could really damage your future self. And also, this could potentially cause different cancers, health issues. We want to be aware of the excessive use of alcohol. We want to try and avoid that. Again, I'm not telling you how to live your life, just trying to show you that there are really huge effects for some of the things that people do on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis. You have to be aware, be honest with yourself, and tell yourself the truth. Alcohol also has an effect on heart disease. I've seen this with my father and other people in, our walks of life. It could raise your blood pressure, increase the risk of heart disease as well, which is not a good thing. And then it also has an effect on your arrhythmias, irregular heartbeats, and cardiomyopathy. Again, not a doctor, but these are just facts that are available to easily look up. Huge use of alcohol could also lead to stroke, and we want to avoid this because if you're having huge medical issues, think about what it's going to do for your money. It's going to have an effect on your future dollars. It's going to take away from your longevity potentially. Then let's talk about the impact on longevity. If you're doing a daily drinking routine, weekly drinking routine, the studies show that heavy alcohol consumption is associated with an increased level of mortality early on in life. These alcohol-related diseases, accidents, or maybe even injuries could contribute to a lower lifespan. So I did a study. I wanted to look to see what the average amount of money that's spent on drinking during a person's lifetime. So again, everyone's different. Everyone prefers different things, but let's get into this because I think it's going to be pretty shocking to see how much money someone actually spends on drinking activities in their lifetime. So the average amount of money spent on drinking in a person's lifetime is going to vary significantly based on your habits, where you live, right? Alcohol prices. However, estimating this is pretty easy when we look at making some general assumptions, and these general assumptions are for an estimation basis. But let's say that an average consumption rate based on common drinking habits in the US is, let's say, 1 to 2 drinks a day, depending on what you drink. All these costs are going to vary widely, but let's simplify this. The assumption is we're going to have a certain number of years where you actually partake in this activity, but also from this example calculation, you can really tweak this for your own lifestyle. So let's say an average person has 2 drinks a day. This is getting cocktails at dinner. The martinis at lunch thing is kind of gone. That's a generational thing. But let's say the average cost of a drink is $5, just for simplicity purposes. And then drinking years. Let's assume that a person starts drinking at the age of 21. That's when you're legal here in the US, and they continue to drink until age 70. It's a long time. It's 49 years. And when we use these assumptions, we can calculate the lifetime expenditure of this daily habit. You could do this with anything that you do. But for this example, 2 drinks a day, that's $10 a day. You think $10 a day, not a big deal. But when you look at that, times that by 365 days a year, $3,650. Simple math. If you're spending double that, that's over $7,000 a year. Here's where it gets tricky. If you take that $3,650 a year and multiply that by the 49 years of drinking, guess how much that is? It's a little bit over $178,000. So you just spent over $178,000, and that's not including inflation, guys. That's part of this too. It's probably going to be higher. But think about this. What's your lifetime sunk cost or lost opportunity? Well, it's a lot. If you take that same $3,650 a year, and if you would have invested that to get on average a 7% return after any cost, over that 49 years, you're going to have approximately $1.5 million. Think about that. $10 a day over a 49-year window is going to lead to a missed opportunity of having $1.5 million in investments. And think about if you put the money into a Roth IRA. If you would have invested that same $3,650 every year, that leads to $1.5 million of potentially tax-free money for your future retirement. So, big picture here. There's a lot of negative health aspects, relationship aspects to daily drinking, but from a monetary standpoint, think about how much you're losing for your future self. You could have literally over $1.5 million if you just replace that daily habit of $10 a day versus investing that, getting a potential 7% rate of return on average. Think about that. What's most important to you? And let's get into smoking too. This is something that is not a great habit. I think we're all aware of that. We were raised on smoking is bad. But there's a huge monetary effect as well, especially when you live in big cities. There's a lot of taxes, a lot of restraint from that standpoint to not spend the money, because when you're spending the money, it's gone. You don't have the ability to get that back, especially on poor habits. And taking the smoking into consideration, even the drinking, if you cut that down to maybe one time a week or once a month, or get rid of that altogether, that could be a huge impact. But if you think about this, if you're spending even $7 on a drink times 2, that's going to give you roughly $250,000 of lost money over a 49-year time span. So my advice is to understand what you're doing with your money. If you're spending it on drinking, ask yourself, is this really helping me live longer? Is this going to help me retire earlier? Would I rather take that same $10 a day and invest that every day? Because that's something you could do as well. Or take that $300 a month, invest that in a Roth IRA, and potentially have $1 million or more in a tax-free investment account, rather than really lowering your longevity potentially. Ask yourself these tough questions and be honest with yourself. These are the things that can help you make better financial decisions, health decisions, relationship decisions. All of these things play a huge role for your future retirement. Stick with us for the next segment. We're going to get into what that cup of coffee is going to cost you every day and what smoking costs you every day. Stay tuned. But let's say $7 per pack. That's going to be our average here. And then we're going to use a baseline from smoking at 18 till age 70. So there's a wide range there, but that's going to total 52 years. It's a long time. Think about the health consequences that you're going to be potentially having during that time frame and the potential medical bills. And we saw at the end with my mom, there were $20,000 and $40,000 a pop of cancer treatment bills. It was unbelievable. So these are things that are going to take away from your future self, not only today, but into your future. So let's break down this example. $7 a day, that's your cost of cigarettes. That's going to lead to $2,555 a year of cost. And over those 52 years, it's about $133,000. It's a ton of money. It's going to lead to potentially $1.3 million if you get a 7% rate of return on average per year. So would you rather have health issues or $1 million+ built up in an investment account to help you have a bigger and better future? These are the things that you need to consider. These little things that you do on a daily basis they're going to have a huge impact on your future, especially if you sit down with your financial advisor, and you probably should do that, or your accountant. Just reallocating a portion of that entertainment money can go a long way to helping you retire earlier and hopefully retire healthier. Welcome back to the Retire As You Desire show. In the last segment of today's amazing episode, we're going to talk what the cost of actual smoking and like coffee and eating out is actually costing your future self. So this is, I think, the most important one, because over 90% of people in the world, not just in the US, but in the world, they drink coffee or a caffeine product every single day. And if you're going out to do that, which sometimes I do, there's a huge impact on your financial future. So stick with us. I'm going to show you these numbers in a few moments here. So going personal again, my parents were big smokers when we were kids, and I knew it had a big financial impact because I saw the cost of these things even at a young age. And this actually, unfortunately, took my mom's life with lung cancer. When she passed away of cancer in 2021, it was really a sad sight to see someone who you love and you care about go through, 3 years of a lot of issues and a lot of doctor visits and a lot of radiation, a lot of chemo. It's hard on the whole family. It takes a toll on everyone. So if there's one piece of advice here, try and stop smoking. It's going to save you a ton of money, but also give you a huge opportunity to hopefully have a bigger and better future just by stopping this daily activity. And approximately 85% of lung cancer deaths, they're attributed to smoking. So there's a huge cause and effect here, and the numbers tell the story. Smoking, I think this is very obvious, but we're going to talk about this. It causes other forms of cancer, bladder, pancreas, kidney, liver, stomach, your esophagus, your throat, some forms of leukemia. There's a ton of studies that show these things. But it also has an effect on your heart. All these negative impacts on your health is probably not a good thing. So if you're going to do any health benefits and really health improvements going into retirement, please stop smoking. This is going to have potentially a huge benefit for your future self, and you're going to start taking care of yourself as well in the process. This could also potentially help you stop your high blood pressure and a whole plethora of other financial and medical issues for your future. And then the final one, this is something that my mom struggled with, is COPD, almost like an asthma. This really affects the lungs, and there's a direct correlation from the COPD into lung cancer and even chronic bronchitis. It's really hard to live when you can't breathe well. It has a huge impact on your life, and smoking is going to damage the airways and the small air sacs in your lungs. This is why we want to try and avoid this as soon as possible. It also weakens your immune system. Not a surprise, but the effects of smoking has a huge impact on making your body more susceptible to infections like pneumonia and influenza. These are things that we want to avoid going into retirement, especially early retirement. So let's get into lifespan and smoking as well, because your life expectancy is potentially decreased by 10 years if you're a smoker. And then if you're a heavy smoker, which I've known people to be 2 to 4 packs a day, like full packs, it's unbelievable. I don't even know how that's possible. But, that takes a huge toll on your life expectancy and could also cause premature death. We want to avoid these things. But we want to get into the financial risk of smoking as well. It's not only about the health, a huge monetary impact as well. So going into the financial aspects of smoking on a daily basis, I think you're going to be shocked about this. It's all going to come down to the numbers and the financial aspect of the smoking. So let's say, from a simplicity purpose, let's say you have 1 pack of cigarettes a day, just 1. But the cost per pack is going to depend widely, depending on where you live. But let's say $7 per pack. That's going to be our average here. And then we're going to use a baseline from smoking at 18 till age 70. So there's a wide range there, but that's going to total 52 years. It's a long time. Think about the health consequences that you're going to be potentially having during that time frame and the potential medical bills. And we saw at the end with my mom, there were $20,000 and $40,000 a pop of cancer treatment bills. It was unbelievable. So these are things that are going to take away from your future self, not only today, but into your future. So let's break down this example. $7 a day, that's your cost of cigarettes. That's going to lead to $2,555 a year of cost. And over those 52 years, it's about $133,000. It's a ton of money. But again, let's use an example of you investing that money instead of actually spending that on things that hurts your health. The benefits of you stopping smoking and investing over that 52 years is going to lead to potentially $1.3 million if you get a 7% rate of return on average per year. So would you rather have health issues or $1 million+ built up in an investment account to help you have a bigger and better future? These are the things that you need to consider. And then when you add up the increasing costs of all these things, if you had 2 packs a day at $7 per pack, over that 52-year window, you're looking at $265,000+. That's so much money. You could be saving that, investing that, maybe paying off a mortgage or getting out of bad debt. It has a massive impact on your future self. Now, this is going to be the most fun part, is going into how much coffee spending is costing you every single day and every single year of your life. For example, let's say you have a $500 a month spend on coffee, eating out, dinners. It's going to cost $6,000 a year. Everyone in the studio here is perking up. They're like, I want to know about this. So your coffee, $500 a month, $6,000 a year over, let's say, a 50-year window. This is just your habit. Over that 50 years, you're going to spend $300,000 on just coffee or lunches. $300,000. Do you think you could do some fun things with $300,000? Maybe that could be your vacation fund or a ton of other things, or a retirement fund. Here's the shocking part. Instead of spending that $6,000 a year just on eating out, it could make you almost $2.8 million if you can get at least a 7% rate of return per annum on that money. So $6,000 on eating out, spending, or if you invested that into a Roth IRA, I think the choice is pretty clear. $2.8 million of tax-free money for your future. So for the millennials, the young people watching this show, think about what you're doing every single day. Are you gonna invest that money? Are you gonna save that money? There's an opportunity cost for every single dollar that you spend. When you go to Starbucks, when you go to lunch, when you go to McDonald's, wherever the place is, that money's gone forever. Starbucks, that corporation, is making the money, whereas you could be making money on your money and planning a little bit. Probably be a little bit healthier too. It's not a bad thing. So overall, you could do this with any form of numbers. If you're spending $10,000 a year, I know people who spend a couple $1,000s a month on eating out, and that's entertaining, it's client work, but I see it on their credit card receipts and their spending. they're literally leaving millions of dollars on the table when they could be investing that money as opposed to spending that every single month. So do you think it would be a bad idea to start saving, start investing? Probably not. Make the right choices. That's going to help you retire earlier, retire on a much healthier basis as well. It's going to help you retire as you desire. So overall, this episode was geared to helping you figure out your health, making better decisions with your money, and showing you how you could retire earlier. These little things that you do on a daily basis they're going to have a huge impact on your future, especially if you sit down with your financial advisor, and you probably should do that, or your accountant, to plan this out. The numbers are there. It could be all shown on your financial statements or your bank account records. Just reallocating a portion of that entertainment money can go a long way to helping you retire earlier and hopefully retire healthier. So stay tuned every week, 6 p.m. Central Time, for a new great episode of the Retire As You Desire show.
It's our job to educate. We are educators. We've talked about my mentor, Tom, multiple times. And one of the first things he told me was we are, being a financial advisor, we are hand holders, we are educators,
Absolutely.
we are therapists.
Yep.
We are therapists.
I need to get a financial planning therapy degree.
I sometimes I feel like I'm not a therapist, but I feel like I do a lot of that work. You have to be asking I don't want to say the right questions. There's not a wrong question, right? But you have to ask the questions at the right time to better understand the person, to build these things in. Some of these things people may not want to address, right? We can make your retirement what you want to be. Both the things you want to do and some of the things you don't want to do. We got to incorporate both those. One of the last things I say, and he's going to love when he sees these. Tom always told me, my job is not to be good to you, it's to be good for you.
Wow, that's prolific.
And I tell people that all the time. I'm not here to be your friend and everything's fine, Bill. My job is here to make sure you're doing the things you need to do to be successful. But you define the success. What's been the best part of it for you?
Well, the best part of it was investing in myself.
Mm-hmm.
That was first and foremost, because when I started my company, first year completely on the struggle bus. It was really difficult because I literally lost all my clients, everyone. I had a 9-month and a 2-year waiting period before I could contact them again. So I remember this vividly, like doing my taxes that year. I was like, there was a $24,000 net profit, and I'm not complaining. It was just like a really difficult financial year. I was like starting over, but I always knew I could figure it out. I have that mindset. I have that mentality, and figuring it out translated into helping my clients.